I'm Mark Tilley, and today here at Dirtbike Magazine, we're getting our chance to test the 2024 KTM 450 SXF. This isn't the first time we've ridden this bike or this platform. We first saw this platform a couple years ago in a factory edition bike. When it came out originally, it was everybody saying, oh, it's built for the race team, it's faster, it's lighter, it's more rigid. And all of that stuff was true. There was a lot more refinements that came to the motorcycle. There's little stuff with new controls that they have, new buttons here and there. Are they better than the old ones? It's a kind of personal preference. We get to test a lot of different engines in this kind of platform. This is the first time that you'll see us on video on a 2024 450 SXF, but we've been riding and testing these bikes for a lot. Our video editor, the guy behind the camera right now, Travis Fant, rides this bike all the time. He has our 2023 model. He's done a bunch of different upgrades to it, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but right now we're gonna go ride this bike. So we just finished another day of testing. I usually say our first day of testing, but we've been doing some testing on this motorcycle. Today we were at Glen Helen. You'll see in the video, we kind of had a private track this morning. I got to slosh around the mud. You know I had a smile on my face. That's not really the greatest for testing. So we actually waited for the track to dry out a little bit, and then we tested pretty much all day long. So no major surprises here. This is a new platform, and we keep saying it's a new platform. We've seen it for the last couple of years now. It's no secret that when this bike came out, it did have some issues. There was some adjustment period to the last generation bike. We loved the last generation bike, and that's because we had 3 or 4 or 5 years of testing on it, getting it to where we liked it. We liked how it squatted in the back. This bike has an anti-squat with the different frame and the different shock. With this particular bike, you gotta let it break in a little bit. You can't just go ride it and think that everything's gonna be perfect. It's kind of like that way with every motorcycle, but the frame breaks in a little bit, the fork breaks in a little bit, the shock breaks in a little bit, everything kind of frees up. It makes it a little bit more forgiving. We've done a lot of other testing, so we know that with this motorcycle, a few fixes is kind of a split type triple clamp that KTM offers out of their hard parts catalog. There is other manufacturers like Ride Engineering and Luxon that make this thing. And then the stock bar that comes on this bike is a little rigid. The Pro Taper bar, now on the other hand, does flex a little bit more, that comes on the Husky. So if you want to keep it in the family, you can kind of try out some of that stuff. When it comes to all the switches and the quick shift and the traction control, all of that in its right position, or in its right, let's say, setting, really works well. There is some people that really like the quick shift. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I don't mind it. It's another feature that KTM offers. Traction control on my side, again, it's something that a lot of people like. I actually like the traction control in those dry, dusty, hard pack conditions. It makes it easier to ride. This bike has a ton of power. It's usable power, but there's a ton of it. It's got different maps. It's got a little sticker on the frame that kind of tells you that the white map is maybe the less aggressive map and the green map is the more aggressive map. When it comes to that, basically what KTM is talking about is that less aggressive map, or the white map, is just going to sign off a little bit earlier, whereas the green map kind of carries that power, and you can rev it to the moon basically. This, like I said, this bike makes a lot of power. It's a lot of usable power. If you want the more aggressive map, because you kind of want to do that every once in a while and rev it to the moon, you can short shift that, and it doesn't get into that gnarly hit that map has up a little bit higher in the revs. Overall, there is little tricks. We've put cone valve. If you ever ridden with a cone valve fork system, they're worth the money. With the air fork, you can get a little bit more of a harsh feeling feedback on little tiny chop, where with a spring fork or the cone valve fork that we've tested, it will kind of take that away. On big hits, the air fork is great. The new shock in the rear takes a little getting used to, and if you're used to the older model having some more squat in there, you can kind of work that into this if you want that. Overall, we've gone a little bit more progressive with the suspension setup, a little bit softer initially, and then it kind of ramps up harder, but that progressive feel makes it to where you're not getting beat up on all the little chop. Kind of nice to note that on the cross-country models, KTM has gone back to a spring fork. So another thing that we've done is we've worked with guys like Twisted Development to map the bikes on the bikes that we currently have before this one. The nice part about the new KTM is they're adjustable. You can kind of fit the bike whatever you want it to be. We have a box on it and remapped it and done all kinds of stuff. There is now people that are breaking into the stock box and remapping and doing stuff like that. So if that's something you feel when you get this bike that you want to do, we've done it. KTM does come with 2 really good maps, and there is big differences between those maps. It's kind of, yeah, how much effort do you want to put into it? We are getting to really know this motorcycle. We might see some updates and maybe some different rigidity in the frames here in the next couple years. That's usually what KTM will do. One of the things that if you are doing a lot of jumping on these bikes, keep an eye on the spokes, because on the stock wheels, the spokes will come loose. They tighten right back up, but it's something that it's definitely you want to keep an eye on. Overall, this new KTM platform is growing on us. We're getting more testing time on the bike, getting more familiar with the motorcycle. The bike has a ton of power and a ton of usable power. It's got the great brakes that we've come accustomed to with KTM's. It's got the electric start. Most of the bikes have electric starts now, but there's a lot of options, and the Dunlop tires. We have had really good luck with clutches on this bike. Again, Travis Fant has a lot of time on his current motorcycle. He's got over 80 hours on a clutch. They're great motorcycles. You can dial them in really good to you personally. We're gonna do a lot more testing on this bike. Maybe if we can talk KTM out of some cone valve fork, put a cone valve fork setup on it. This bike did gain a little bit of weight, but it's still the lightest 450 in the class. So stay tuned to a little bit more testing we're gonna do for the rest of the year, and then it's gonna be that time sooner than we think. There's gonna be a shootout coming, a 450 shootout. See how it stacks up this year. If you got a little bit more time on your hands and you want to check out some other videos that we produce, hit the video thumbnail now, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all of our latest releases. And check out dirtbikemagazine.com for all the latest off-road and moto industry news.